Moon boys worldwide are gearing up for something so big, so absolutely monstrously ooey and gooey down to the bone, that the term bull market might not be big enough. But are the bulls in store for a surprise dump that will leave them shaking and quivering like a coffee addict without their cup of bean juice? Or are the bulls about to ground and pound the bears so big that simply uttering the words supercycle instantly vaporizes any bear boy within a 25-mile radius? So if you understand the year 2025 isn't going to be big for the Moon Boys, it is going to be monstrously big. Hit that like and subscribe, and without any further ado, let's jump into Bitcoin, the crypto markets, the stock market, and everything today as we start off Q1 2025 stronger, harder, faster, and better than you could ever imagine. So one of the first things I want to cover is a prediction. I'm making a prediction. I'm going to do it. 2025 Bitcoin prediction. Bitcoin will go up, and then new people will buy it, and then Bitcoin will go down, and people will get really angry, upset. They'll cry. They will beg their mommies for more money. They'll sell at a loss. They'll leave crypto, calling it a scam, and they won't return for 4 years until the next bull market top, in which they plan on buying the top there as well. It's a tale as old as time. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. You need to have a long-term mindset, and you cannot be a big baby. You don't want to buy high and sell low. Ideally, if you want to make profits, you want to buy low and then sell high. And if you're watching this video, if you're watching this channel for the first time, and you're thinking, hey, I've heard about Bitcoin for the past few years, I've heard about it, and I think right now might be the best time for me to pull the trigger. Just know, while I do think we have a solid 2 quarters, so 3 to 6 months left of bullish price action for Bitcoin, and also in particular, yes, altcoins, just know that even though I think that's the case, I think that you're going to have a harder time successfully navigating the market, especially navigating your own emotion. But it's not impossible. Actually, you can do it. Like you could, say you invested right now for the very first time. You have a realistic opportunity to actually invest and make a lot of money within the next 6 months and not get banged and not get burned and not round trip everything. However, the odds are stacked against you, just statistically. 99% of people probably are going to get banged if they're buying for the very first time today and they want to have a short-term mindset. But that's why it's better to just have a longer-term mindset anyway, and just kind of do what I do and do what a lot of people do, is just buy and just keep buying, and then just keep buying year after year after year, whether it's high or low. Just buy and think of it as a long-term investment. But I really would love to prevent people from getting banged in the markets, and especially if we have a big downturn in a couple of months after altcoins have successfully rallied, gone to new all-time highs, and Bitcoin has really started to take over the world by storm, and everybody, including their grandma and their grandma's mom, and everybody starts buying. That's usually the time when you want to start being a little risk aware of the risk, instead of just taking on more risk. That's when you want to kind of back off a little bit. But just, this is the only prediction I'm going to make for the year, is that a lot of people are going to buy the top, sell the lows, and say crypto's a scam because they have a horrible experience. No, crypto's not a scam. You're just a ding dong. You're just a butthead. You just have to figure out the basics. That's it. As well, we take a look here. James Van Straten highlighted something that I think makes a lot of sense as well. He says he doesn't think Donald Trump announcing a Bitcoin reserve via an executive order on day one, or even in the beginning, it makes the most sense. He's saying, he's already pro-Bitcoin. His family and a lot of people in his cabinet, most of his administration, is pro-Bitcoin as well. There's not really an advantage to doing that and announcing to the world that that he's announcing a Bitcoin reserve, and basically the price realistically, if he just announced on day one, hey, we're creating a Bitcoin reserve, guys, I need to understand, nobody knows the future, but that's one of those things that if that happened, we're already seeing every day, whether it's Sweden or Germany or all these other countries talking about adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets, people would just go nuts, and countries worldwide would start doing the same thing very quickly after, and that would push the price up. So what he's saying here is basically, he probably won't do that. He'll probably just buy in the background. He'll, keep the 200,000 Bitcoin the U.S. currently has and not allow it to be sold. And you can see even the top comment here saying he disagrees. Trump enjoys the show and who will also want to be part of contributing to the price increase. So I understand both points. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen exactly, but both situations and both strategies, I think, have their pros and have their cons. The con of this first strategy here, I mean, the con, like the bad thing about it is that like we wouldn't see a massive Bitcoin pump the very first day of the administration. So people would be crying and saying, oh, I thought it was going to be bullish and I thought price was going to go up. So that's the con of that. But honestly, realistically, that's probably the better situation. But what do people want? They want to see price go up. They want to get crazy headlines every day. They want to make a lot of money. So that is why this scenario here saying that, you know, if he did issue an executive order on day one and issue the Bitcoin reserve immediately and price just starts going up and the world starts FOMOing in, it'll definitely be more volatile. It'll definitely be kind of crazy. It might even, I mean, I'm not sure how it'll affect the cycles because honestly, at that point, like let's say that happens and let's say the world starts adopting Bitcoin, like countries, nations, the biggest nations in the world, Russia, China, the US, a lot of South American countries, a lot of Europe, Germany, Sweden, all these places, right? If they all start announcing Bitcoin reserves and they start gobbling up Bitcoin to satisfy the requirements of Bitcoin reserves, price is going to go crazy. How will that affect the 4-year cycle? Are we still going to have crazy 70, 80% crashes every 4 years? Are we still going to have 2-year-long bear markets every 4 years? I don't know. I find that if there's ever a scenario where we would stop having those normal pullbacks, like something like that would be exactly what would have to happen. I think, again, people are so caught up in the pain of 2021 and 2022. They have so much PTSD. They just think there's no way that we could ever have a super cycle. There's no way that bear markets, like long-term bear markets, could ever change. That people just believe there's no way the 4-year cycle theory will ever stop playing out exactly as it always has. I'm just saying that if something like this happened, this is exactly what would need to happen for things to truly change the cycles. For the cycles to break, you would need something completely groundbreaking to happen. And if the richest countries in the world start competing with each other to get as much Bitcoin as fast as they can for as cheap as they can, then, I mean, is that not like the most bullish like thing that you can imagine that would change the dynamic of the 4-year cycle? I feel like yes, and I feel like people have lied to themselves for the past couple of years. They think there's no way it can be this bullish. They get their hopes up so much and their hopes constantly get dumped on, and that's okay. That's like a normal psychological reaction to just start feeling disappointment. But, you know, keep in mind, with people worldwide feeling that disappointment, feeling that fear, and feeling like it's impossible for something like that to ever happen is exactly when it happens. So just keep that in mind. I'm not making, you know, nobody knows for sure, but all I'm saying is if this really happens in just the next few weeks, keep in mind, it's only a few weeks away. This is not very far away. If this happens, then, hey, we've seen FOMO in the crypto markets before, but it's primarily been FOMO from retail people. Imagine the FOMO and the capital of countries FOMOing against each other, nations FOMOing against each other, nations afraid to miss out because other country X and other country Y are buying. That's a lot of capital, and that can push the price to way higher numbers than people are really predicting. Because as I covered in my last video, the average price prediction for this bull cycle top is like $200,000 per coin, which is not even a 2x from our current Bitcoin all-time highs. I think that people might be underestimating where this is going. We were getting $200,000 Bitcoin price predictions back in 2021, right? There was way crazier price predictions percentage-wise in the past. This one seems very tame. And as I keep saying, I think this one seems tame because people have a lot of PTSD and they're scared of getting banged this bull cycle. But what if, in fact, people don't get banged by the price going down? But what if people get banged by the price going up too fast and they don't have enough and they thought, oh, I thought this was just going to be a big drop? Again, I'm not saying that's a guarantee. All I'm saying is it's a realistic possibility that you have to prepare for now more than ever because we have Bitcoin spot ETFs, the most successful ETFs in the history of ETFs. And we have the possibility of nations competing with each other this year to buy more Bitcoin, to buy Bitcoin, not even more Bitcoin, to get any Bitcoin. There are countries that don't have any Bitcoin in reserves. In fact, Bitcoin doesn't have an official, or the US does not have an official Bitcoin reserve. That's the whole point. In a couple of weeks, it's likely that we might. that would be game changing. And the price would be, it would have to go up a lot to account for that. We also see this, and I wanted to cover, MicroStrategist posted this on X here. MicroStrategy's fair value indicator is down to 7%, a level that's not been seen since February of 2024, so almost a year ago, when everyone thought MicroStrategy was dead after the ETFs were announced. What happened next? It ripped from $43 per share to $200. You can see that here. And with the next few weeks, they could be bumpy with a possible low around 250 or 260. If history repeats with the US presidential inauguration, pre-Q4 earnings blackout, and historic January 17th options expiry, we might be set for another violent explosion in 2025. I did want to just show this indicator here, just showing how low it was. Last time it was this low was back here in February, so that's quite low, in fact, very big time. But an excursion to the top of MicroStrategy's fair value range would get us to around $1,100 per share. MicroStrategy value is driven by its Bitcoin value per share and so on and so forth. But basically, right now, MicroStrategy is nowhere near $1,100 per share. In fact, if I just look here, I believe, MicroStrategy is about $300 per share. So that would be over a 3x from here. And Stock Money Lizard's highlighting this: Bitcoin, all cycles aligning perfectly. And it doesn't matter if it's 2013, where it's considered funny internet money, or 2025, where institutions are loading up. 2025 will be big. Our year-end target is between $250,000 to $300,000 per coin. And you can see, just comparing the 2013, 2017 cycle, you can see 2017 to 2021. And here we are, 2021 to 2025. Here we are. We have about, a little less than a year left, according to this, and according to my own, exactly what I think makes sense. I think this, we don't have, it depends on if true worldwide adoption starts happening, like I just said a couple minutes ago. But realistically, you have to be at least thinking of protecting your investments over the next couple of months, specifically about 6 or so months, because it's possible. I don't want to be too bullish. That's why I'm saying I'm largely going to take profit around these levels, because and rotate a lot of alt gains into Bitcoin around these levels, because even though I think there's a very good chance this might turn into a super cycle. I mean, I hate saying that word because it's so overused and so hypey and kind of dumb, but realistically, that's kind of what it could be. Hyper Bitcoinization, basically, I guess, is a better way instead of saying super cycle. But there's a very real chance that happens, but I'm not saying that's a guarantee, and I'm not even having that as my base case, because even though I think it's a very realistic possibility, I think it's silly to just say, oh, it's definitely going to happen. We're definitely going to have these reserves, and every country on earth is going to be fighting for Bitcoin. I think eventually that is what's going to happen. Is it going to be the cycle? I think there's a good possibility. I just don't think it's guaranteed. And I don't think basing your exit strategy and your profit taking strategy on that being a guarantee is not the smartest thing, right? I don't think that should be the base case. It's kind of silly. Again, as things go on, maybe even just a few weeks or months, it actually might be confirmed that is what's going to happen. But at this point, we have to play it day by day. And right now it's a little too risky to say that's definitely going to happen. We also see this tweet: never met anyone who studied Bitcoin and said, you know what, fiat is the future. That's right. In fact, I know a lot of people who have opinions on Bitcoin that have not read a single even article about Bitcoin. They've heard things, the media has told them things, they've heard things on their radio or things like that, but I've never met somebody who actually studied Bitcoin and actually thought it was a scam. The only people that don't like Bitcoin or they think it's fake are people that have quite literally not put in 5 minutes of honest research ever into the topic. And it's always the same type. I'm not going to get I'm not even going to go down that path, but you know what? I guess I'll just stop talking about that topic now because it's going to start, I could say some very mean things. But anyway, we see that the cup and handle has a target of about $140,000 per Bitcoin, expecting it to hit before Q1 ends, so before April of this year. This is the gigantic, we've been covering this forever as well. It is massive, huge cup and handle pattern. As we see with the cup and handle pattern, the cup depth being roughly the target of this breakout. And according to this, we should have a target. He's putting about the target right here, about 140,000. I personally think it could go much even higher than this. But yeah, this is the cup you can see here. Here's the handle. This breakout is truly right now a baby breakout, meaning we haven't seen the full extent of this breakout. I think we go way higher. And we also see that Morgan Stanley's E-Trade is exploring Bitcoin and crypto trading launch via the information. E-Trade has 5.5 million retail accounts and over 2 million corporate accounts. Now, I'm not saying that's big, but it is big. So if we take a look at the price of Bitcoin on the weekly chart, we have 3 days left until a weekly candle close. It's been kind of weird because of the holidays, but liquidity is returning. People are active again. Holidays are over. It is the new year. It's time to start getting serious about this once again. And as you can see, the price of Bitcoin right now is significantly above its 21-week moving average, which is all the way down here at about $77,000 per coin, still significantly above those levels. And as well, if we take a look on Bitcoin's chart here, you can see here that the price of Bitcoin is trying to get above its 21 and 50-day moving averages, which are basically right beside each other. Very big. The 100-day moving average right here is all the way down at about $82,000 per Bitcoin. So that would constitute a bigger drop if we went down there. However, as I just said, the price of Bitcoin is trying to get above these moving averages, which would require it get above about $98,000 per coin to be substantially above both the 21 and 50-day moving average. Also, if you take a look here and we look at the RSI for Bitcoin, we've just gotten a bullish cross right here on the RSI, which is, potentially promising for the price of Bitcoin here. And as well, you see the momentum even on the MACD starting to curl up, meaning because basically since the middle or the end of November, the price of Bitcoin on the MACD has been trending downwards. Look how much it's reset in that time. Meaning potentially we have the ability in the short term to actually start reversing here. And actually, if we look at the weekly chart as well, another one here, we see that potentially right now we are trying to not have a bearish cross on this RSI on the weekly, which is much more significant. And honestly, the MACD, you can see it's been curling down for the past 3 weeks, but this MACD can run, at least historically, a lot higher, even in the relative short term. But yeah, weekly chart for Bitcoin, I just think the momentum is showing potentially on the short term that we could see things ramp up. And keep in mind, if we start getting fundamental news in the next few weeks, then some of this charting doesn't matter as much, right? If we truly get crazy bullish news, then you have to factor in multiple things. It's not just charts and it's not just news. It's a mix of both. But fundamentally, the fundamentals, I personally think, are stronger than technicals usually, but the technicals usually back it up and align anyway. So it's usually just a combination of both things that makes it the most, most reliable things to look at. We also see this chart right here. As you can see, the DXY actually putting in a new high today. Okay, look right there. That's a very big high. If we actually zoom out, this is the highest, let me zoom out. This is the highest that the US dollar has been since November of 2022. Okay, so in over 2 years, this is the highest that the US dollar has been. Now, I've been covering the last few days. When Trump got elected, not this time, but the first time that he got elected, the DXY actually exploded upwards, just like we're seeing now. But then as soon as he took office, basically, the DXY started going down for a while. Are we about to see something exactly similar to that? Meaning the DXY actually has a chance of continuing to go up over the next few weeks, but then towards the end of January, and then for months afterwards, potentially cratering. The US dollar actually going down, which the reason I'm saying this is because the US dollar and Bitcoin have an inverse relationship, meaning typically if the US dollar is pumping, that helps Bitcoin pump more. But as you can see, over the last couple of months, if we go all the way back to October, you can see October is when the DXY started really pumping here. But what has Bitcoin done since October? If we look at a weekly chart, this is October, the very beginning of October. Bitcoin has also gone up. So typically Bitcoin gets dumped on when the US dollar pumps, but Bitcoin has also just been pumping anyway. But if the US dollar starts dumping, then that, in my opinion, should just give more fuel to the fire to then make Bitcoin pump even harder. It's honestly, the main takeaway is that it's bullish that Bitcoin is pumping right now the past couple months, even though the US dollar has also been pumping. It's pumping actually pretty strong if you look here. But how long can this pumping last for the US dollar? History would tell us a couple more weeks, only a couple more weeks. An administration change is a fundamentally big factor when it comes to the strength of the US dollar. And we're about to have a change in the US administration. And get signed up with Femex or BITUNIX below if you want Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. Without further ado,